I have the great pleasure today of speaking at a topic that some of you might not know that much about. It's bathing. It's European traditional bathing. And it's kind of a risky subject. Thank you, Maria. It's kind of a risky subject because it's very opinionated, and everyone has done it and have various thoughts. And as Mary Tabaki said this morning, though, when we talked about paragliding, what would life be without a little bit of risk? So before we go into the naked truth and maybe one or two surprises of our European bathing, I'd like to introduce our amazing panel. And I'm supposed to press this. Oh, it's no slides at all. So that makes it much, much easier. So we'll go here. Aldina Duarte Ramos, she is the queen of spas when it comes to Accor. She has more titles than we have time to talk about today, one of them being the president of the French Spa Association. Then we have Alla Sokolova. She is the founder and CEO of Inbalans. She's written a book with Sophie Bengi about Eastern Europe and Baltic traditions in wellness and bathing, and she's passionate about it. Then we have Lasse Eriksen. He's our sauna master, and he is an Afgos master. How many here knows what Afgos is? About 1/3. You'll soon to find out a bit more. It's a world champion in Afgos. He's also the development manager for Nordic Choice Hotels in Norway. Last, but absolutely not least, we have Mr. Wet Area, Adrian Egger.
Wet area. Oh my God.
I didn't know that, but
well,
nice to know now.
He has led and worked at a number of successful companies like Schlettwerth and Merriam and Clafs, and he's now joined our very own Franz Linser at Linser Hospitality. So very honored to have you all up here. And we're going to talk about bathing. And before you start frowning at some bathing traditions around the world that might sound a bit awkward, I want you to just hold on until you've listened to what we have to say here, and you might not be so quick to judge. So let's look at Europe. And we're going to talk about where it came from, who was first, and our panel is going to decide which is the best. Well, no doubt we in Europe take our bathing very seriously. We love our bathing, and we're often naked. So some of us think that bathing today is a private affair. As actually one of our panel members here said, the Nordic countries still have bathing traditions, but almost everywhere at home and private. So we can see this social situation we're talking about is nowhere happening except Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I beg to differ. So this is a hot spring in Budapest who are famous for their summer night parties. Here's a Nordic bathing tradition, maybe not so private. Anyone who's ever been to a Russian banya knows that there is nothing private about them. So let's take you back to the future in history. We're going to go about 3,000 years. And you see I'm clicking frantically here. And we are, there we go. And just to give you a bit of perspective, it's about 3,000 BC up to today. So the first bathing actually started in seas and rivers. And it's a bit considered a luxury today, and even fashion. Just last week, I am from Sweden, by the way. Need to know that because I'm going to make some pointed comments. So Justin Bieber was visiting us in Stockholm, and he actually made a point that he was bathing in a 13-degree water, and now everyone in Sweden wants to bathe in water that's under the age of 15. But as the first civilization started to form, so did also the bathhouses, and this is one of the earliest one in Sindh, Pakistan. However, there was the Egyptian who took washing very seriously, and they washed and they applied cosmetic, and it was considered that the better washed you were and the well-oiled you were, the closer you were to the gods. Not the dogs, the gods, sorry. Did not say that. But it was the Greek, who's always the first with everything. They were the first one that through lead pipes, led water to shower over our heads, and had invented the first shower as early as before Christ. And How many in here knows what gymnos actually mean? Anyone? Naked. So these athletes were exercising, performing competition in the nude to appreciate the male form. Probably looked a bit better back then. Now, however, in these places, as they were working up a sweat, bathhouses needed to form, and these were where the earliest bathhouses formed, actually. Now, looking forward, then came the Roman era, and I am clicking. I promise, Maria, I'm clicking. And they also appreciated the male form. We still do. It's just it looks a bit different. And they worked up a sweat, and with that, they used a tool called striggle. Oh, there we go. To take off the perspiration before they went into bathing. Now, women also used striggles. I'm going to get a workout from this today. But they didn't work up a sweat because they didn't. We'd still appreciate their form, but they went into a tepid bath, a hot bath, and a cold bath, and then used the striggle. Even in these locations, there were hairdressers and barbers, and it became like small cities where you performed minor surgeries, pulled teeth, and all kinds of other things. However, when the Roman Empire fell and the Dark Ages rolled in, the plumbing and the public bathhouses fell into disuse and disrepair. And as a result, a lot of the public bathhouses, private bathing facilities disappeared. And we entered into an era that was kind of dark and dirty. However, men and women bathed together at this time, and they often were seated in water for hours of time, enjoying food and beverages at floating tables, banquets with musicians seated in the water for hours at a time. And the men kept their hats on, and the women were impeccably dressed from the navel and upwards, with chokers and necklaces and hairdos and towel headdresses. However, some of these bathing houses gained a reputation to be brothels, not surprisingly. And, oh, you laugh. And it was quite bad. So I just can get here. So public baths in medieval times were almost treated as restaurants where people could eat and drink for hours while sitting in the warm water. But cleanliness was still not at the top of our mind. We did not bathe at the time to be clean. We bathed for completely different reasons. So I do think St. Bernard was right when he said, and what did he say? It's we all stink, no one smells. Then came the Black Death, and 50 million people died. And to put this into a bit of perspective, that is 60% of the European population in 10 years' time. That changed how we viewed bathhouses. And as the medical and scientific understanding of germs was not that yet in place, we actually thought at the time that by bathing, we would open our pores and allow illnesses to come in. So it was believed that a little bit of dirt, or actually a lot of bit of dirt, would protect ourselves from diseases. The medieval church was quick to hang on to this, and they started to disapprove of the act of bathing, and especially the act of bathing naked, to the point where it's culminated where the church said that it led to immortality, promiscuous sex, and disease. And the latter disease point, again, was heavily important because it was true that we really believed that washing meant that we allowed our bodies to be receptive to disease. And actually, a shower would have filled the 7th century's Frenchmen with as much fear as you see on the picture. To wash away with your abandon and leave your body open for all that disease to come in, it's practically asking to get sick. So just as we might think that this was a disgusting habit back then, they would have thought that we were as disgusting when we wash the way we do today. So did the Buddhist and Muslim think that we were filthy? Absolutely, and they were right too. Because we did not practically bathe for as long as 5 centuries. So, there was nothing like this around the world. Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, they all had an unbroken tradition of cleanliness. And they took bathing very seriously, and Christianity at the time did not. Now, Louis XIV, who you just saw there, his stench came from the fact that his physicians recommended him to bathe as infrequently as possible to remain healthy. He actually told that he found the act of bathing disturbing. And he proudly said that he only bathed 3 times in his lifetime. As a Russian ambassador wrote, Louis the King, the French king, he stunk like a wild animal. Now, the Russians were not so finicky about their bathing. They bathed fairly regularly, like once a month. And for this very reason, the many Europeans thought of them as perverts. Another gruesome twosome in the class is Queen Isabel I. She proudly let everyone know that she only bathed twice in her lifetime. Once when she was born, and the other time when she got married. And if any one of you were wondering why you had those tight collars at that time, you can probably figure out why. Under all these beautiful clothes, they stunk. So what did they do? They took perfumed rags and tried to sleep and bathe themselves. Men were herbal poultices between the waistline and the shirt. Women were fragrant powders, but it did not mask the stench, and it was a smelly period. Now, up north, where I come from, we were too much pagans and savages, so the Christians didn't really get a foothold in our area. So we had more bathhouses open for a longer time. They actually did not even manage to get this pagan ritual. That's our strongest ritual still today. It's us dancing around and upside down, pointing penis, fertilizing the earth. Now, what the Christians managed to do, actually, was they put a cross and put the balls a bit further apart so it didn't look so bad. But we had the most bathhouses in Europe at the time, which was not very difficult because all the other ones were closed. But in the end, we had to close them for about a century because they did develop into something less pleasant, and the spread of syphilis meant that we had to close them for about 100 years. This lasted until the 19th century, and what you see right here is one of the first bathing suits. And this, in about 1830, is where our bathing tradition, as we know them today, that's when they started to form. So it's fairly early. Now, before we go on to our panel, I just want to have a little bit view on the US, as all of our eyes are on the US these days. And the architects came up with something called a Pattenberg, where you can cut and paste and build your own house at the time. And they came up with a little room called bathroom. So this implied that there would actually be fixed plumbing in this room, eventually in the future. But it took about another 80 years, so well into the 1920s, the habits in the US still was you took your tin tub into the kitchen, you filled it with warm water on a Saturday evening, everyone would bathe in the same water one by one, starting with the father, who was the most important, and ending with the daughter-in-law, who was the least important. So the cleanliness obsession, which I have to say there is today a bit in the US, did not start until 1940. And actually, it's made the medieval churches right. We do need a little bit of bacteria to keep healthy. And it's given rise to products like this today, where you spray dirt and bacteria onto your body after you shower. Because the fact is that we're disturbing all our very welcome guests. And those guests that we have on our body is actually more than we have cells. The bacteria is something that we should really consider to be VIPs. So what has happened is that products like these come up, where after you showered, you spray it on, the bacteria actually eats the body odor, and it makes your skin shine more than other products. And no, I don't get commission. How many of you here had heard about no poo? Not too many. I'm going to make your skin shrivel. So it's the art of not shampooing anymore. Ugh, you say. Well, you just wait. So I go to the hairdresser a couple of times a year. As you can see, my hair is pink for the occasion of breast cancer, I say. And this is a different type of wash where it's a cleansing cream with not the endocrine disruptors and cancerogenic and things that we don't need if you have to clean your hair when you go to the hairdresser. Now, this is my daughter. She's 8 years old. She has never washed her hair. And you can tell. And to give you another bit of gossip, I don't wash my hair. I haven't for the past 10 years, except when I go to the hairdressers, which I found in New York, who uses cleansing cream. You can touch it later if you dare. So this is giving a rise because we're seeing the bacteria is good and they're taking care of things, and our obsession with cleanliness might be a bit much. So with that, back to the future, we're going to look at current bathing traditions, and each of the panel members are going to talk about their most passionate ones. But the ones that they're not going to mention is that we have hot springs all over Europe, bringing millions of tourists here. We heard about it. Marion was holding the ball. And this is in Iceland. We also have our Nordic bathing traditions, where you have the very hot sauna and the very cold dip, by far the most superior bathing tradition there is. And, just joking, and we have the mud bath in Italy. Again, it's both for a medicinal as well as a recreational and preventative habit. Turkish bath, again, it's a marriage between the Roman and the Ottoman bathhouses. Very similar with a bit of a different take, but they thought that the bathing in cold water was not as hygienic, so they instead splashed it away. So there's a bit of different takes, but it kind of comes from all the same. So that was a bit of history. So I now want to hand it over to Aldina, and while she gets prepared, being naked is not bad. We're born naked, and actually in the country we're in, how many here has been to a traditional bathhouse in Austria yet? Oh, you're so scared. You have to be naked, and it's actually hygienic. It's good for you. So Aldina, do you want to sit down or do you want to stand up?
I can remain here, that's fine.
Excellent.
If you don't mind. Okay, so now it's straight on. Okay.
Excellent. It's a French flag, just for you.
Oh, the French one. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so nice.
Oh, you're from
Oh,
Portugal.
good. Bleu, blanc, rouge. All right, so I'm here to talk about thalassotherapy. And maybe if you want a more marketing word, if thalasso is too much, let's say you can call it seawater spa, if you wish. So what I want to tell you about today is about the secret of the healing waters, of the healing power of seawater. Oh, that's right, this thing is not... Okay, and I want to focus on one man that you may or might not know is René Quinton. He's a French biologist, and we could have even a whole summit about René Quinton. We could have a whole summit about thalassotherapy. But I just want to focus on this man, which was a pioneer back in 1995, where he unveiled a new concept, the concept of prevention through seawater. And this was a major discovery. And, oh, yes, sorry, that was the fun part of it. No naked part back then, I'm so sorry. There was no naked part when you talk about seawater and sea bathing. People were like, okay, bathing into the ocean, into the sea, but there was no naked part here. So back to Quinton, René Quinton. What I want, and I have 1 minute, right?
What?
What you need to take with you from this short panel is that he discovered marine plasma and actually confirms that marine plasma has healing benefits. How do we do that? It just injected marine plasma with water into the body of diseased people and proved that it could cure them. So that was one major discovery back then. Then he also has another discovery, which brings us to thalassotherapy, is that when you heat seawater up to 35 to 34 degrees Celsius, actually all the nutrients, the trace elements, the vitamins, let's call the vitamins that you find into seawater, go directly through your skin and into your blood. So what does this do? It actually boosts your immune system. That's the secret, yes. And this is taken from René Quinton's research, is when a cell is submerged in water, the water molecules just pass through the cell. So this is scientific. This is science, this is evidence. And now I have a few pictures about thalassotherapy. But what I want to tell is that what is a thalassotherapy treatment after all? What does this mean? Well, you may be surprised that you cannot have more than 3 bathing during the day with sea water. You cannot have more than that because it's too much for your body. Your body just takes in so many vitamins and trace elements that it's too much, and you actually get very tired. So this is why the pure thalassotherapy cure, it's only 3 treatments a day with seawater and only 15 minutes. This is why you can combine it easily with new modern treatments like spa stuff. And this is why it's a fantastic opportunity for the wellness world to combine the ancient therapies with modern ones. And that's what I want to say about thalassotherapy. Who here in this room is familiar with the healing powers of thalassotherapy, of seawater? Please raise your hand. I want to see you. Oh, good. Almost half of the room. Good. I hope I convinced the other ones that didn't know about the healing powers of water that it's the right thing to do next.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Alla Sokolova is going to talk about the Baltic bathing tradition. There you go.
Thank you. It's a great honor to take you for a 2-minute journey on my favorite Baltic bathing experiences. And I have to disagree with Anna about the old proverb that cleanliness is next to godliness, because that's how it's been in the Baltics for many years. And it's a nice way of characterizing the specific Baltic rituals. And the best description is of the rituals is a great marriage between health and spirituality. So this is Edda Veria from Estonia. She's a smoke sauna master, and I learned from her that people gather together in the smoke sauna when a child is born, when you start school, when you start a job, when you get married, and when you change a job, and when you prepare to die. Until 1960s, it was common for women to give birth in the smoke saunas. Ida Veria has granted a very unique status to the smoke saunas. She made the ritual UNESCO heritage protected to ensure that this well-being culture stays alive. The Latvian and Lithuanian Pirts and the Pirtniks is one of the oldest and loveliest traditions in Latvia and Lithuania. That Latvians have over 1,000 privately owned pierts, and 70% of the population go regularly. The piertniks, the qualified bathhouse masters, undergo a 3-year educational program where they learn about the anatomy and natural medicine. Part of the course is learning about how to pick the right herbal oak or birch besoms. They are then dried and before the treatment soaked in the water and flanked over the naked bodies and asked to put in some naked pictures. I hope there's enough here. And the Russian banya. The Russian banya is a more than 1,000-year-old tradition, and Peter the Great in the 18th century made it a national policy to develop a public bathhouse in every village for people to come together, to socialize, to celebrate milestones, to stay purified, stay healthy and strong. So the Russian public bathhouse is traditionally separate for women, for men. For those who are more comfortable getting naked, this option might be more comfortable. I didn't know about the perversions of Russians. And the ritual consists of 3 major parts. It's the warming up of the body, it's the intense besom massage inside the sauna to excrete the toxins, it's the cold plunges to activate the cardiovascular system, and finally it's the treatment ends with a purifying, relaxing soap massage using linden masseurs, all products of the woods. And finally, this photo takes us back to the Latvian countryside, where Igors meets stressed city dwellers that are in need for a detox. And his 3-hour ritual culminates with stillness, purification, stillness in the lake, a Vasa-like experience where another dimension of connectivity to oneself will definitely be achieved. A feel-good is guaranteed. The Baltic bathing traditions are definitely my favorite ones and my favorite spa experiences. And 10 years ago, I met Sophie Bench at the Global Wellness Summit in New York. And 2 years ago, we published the book together on the Baltic, on the Baltic to the Black Sea, on the authentic traditions from this part of the world. So I encourage you not to rely on the opinions of the panel, but to go out there and experience these authentic treatments. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to Latvia. And on Saturdays, you will find me in the banya, and unless I'm traveling. And I hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Mr. Egger.
Well, as Anna has told you so much about the history, but I think the history itself is so interesting. And as you can see, this is a picture taken just when we went back from history in our time capsule. It's the team which did the research. I'm the guy on the right side, because we discovered the Fountain of Youth there. So history is really interesting, what is going on in Europe and what is happening. Very interesting for me is to see that the bathing traditions and medical treatments has always been together until the time we discovered more knowledge about medical treatments. But until that time, it was always together. And in all these bathing houses, there was a guy, as you can see there. He was the so-called, the English word is a bit complicated. It's let me see real quick. I can find it. Sorry for that. Anyhow, we come back to that later. But what I wanted to say is those bathing houses have always been connected with bathing, I mean the regular cleaning part, as well as medical treatments. And you can see they already offered cupping, bloodletting, and dental treatments, as well as they already told the people to do sunbathing and air bathing. So they already understood the complexity of body, mind, and soul, which I think is very impressive. At the end of the 19th century, because this is pretty much, as you already said, the situation changed. Bathing houses were closed due to some big disease and stuff. And this is when everything started with developing new treatments. Treatments like we all know, and treatments which are still existing nowadays. I think we all know Sebastian Kneipp and his Kneipp treatments. He was the guy which invented the treatments in terms of hot and cold water. But he already also give suggestions in terms of eating and exercising suggestions, which a lot of people don't know, that this is a bigger scale than just hot and cold water. Another thing which was invented or developed at that time was the mud bathing already. And the mud baths, if you take a full mud bath, your body temperature rises up to 2 degrees. So you create an artificial fever. And this helps you to strengthen your immune system. It's helping you to relax your muscles, and it's really boosting your metabolism as well. Hay bathing was something which was developed in these countries as well. It's the hay people would use just to feed their cows. Regular hay from the mountain. People are bathing in there, but the healthy ingredients of the hay, they were just helping people to relax and helping to purge the body. A very strange thing, which I think is, because just of the topic is the so-called Stanga bath. Who of you knows the Stanga bath? A few people. The Stanga bath is a bath where there is electricity running through your body while you're sitting into the water.
Okay.
But it's very healthy. Electricity is running through your body from 0 up to maximum 15 volt. It's a direct current. And it's moving your blood circulation. It's boosting your blood circulation on the skin up to 500 times of normal. And in the lower part, like in the muscles, up to 300 times higher than it would be normal. So the Stanga bath is really helping you to relax, to energize your body, or to relax your body. It's a very interesting thing. No, the direction of the currency is responsible if you go out there and be really full of energy, energetic, or you go out there and you're really relaxed and you want to just lay down and sleep. Very interesting. So as you can see, until the 1950s, every treatment in the European way of thinking about wellness was water-related. There was no sauna. It didn't exist. The sauna came to a very funny situation in 1936, because at the Olympic Games in Berlin, the team of the Finnish people said, "We are not coming. Either you build a sauna or we are not coming." So this is actually the picture of the first sauna ever built in Germany, actually kind of in Central Europe. And this was the picture, or this is the original picture of this sauna built in Berlin. And there have been a hell lot of articles in the newspapers saying, these crazy Finnish people, they want a wooden room where there is about 90 degrees and they sit in there and they still enjoy it. What is that for? Nobody understood. But you know, sure, now we know too. But the interesting thing was the Finns did quite good in the Olympic Games. So the medical doctors of Germany started researching the sauna and found out that this is really a cool thing and it really helps you. And this is how the triumph of the sauna started. And as you can see, I know my time is running. 1960, there was already 1,000 public saunas because it started right after the Second World War. And if we bring it down to numbers in Germany, because Germans, they just have numbers for everything and we love it. 31.4 million sauna users are in Germany existing. There is 12,000 saunas in public places, such as public pubs and hotels at the moment. 1 million private saunas all over Germany, and 14% of all the German inhabitants are saying they use wellness offers at least once a month. So tourism made that really big. all this wellness facility went big through tourism. And as Franz already mentioned, today we have around 3,500 wellness hotels, and I'm really talking about wellness hotels, not hotel with wellness, because this is a different thing. We have 3,500 wellness hotels here, and in this region, and especially here in Tyrol, we have the highest intensity of wellness offers worldwide. Thank you.
I look like the scary person coming over. Now, last but not least, we have Lasse.
Yes.
And do you want to run the video straight away?
Video first, because then you understand what I'm talking about. Thank you. Thank you, and that's me. Thank you, I'm off. I can stand over here, so I have this part. The sauna Aufguss. Sauna. Sauna is the world's most famous Finnish word. Aufguss is the world's most famous German word inside a sauna. Now you understand, huh? So all the Germans here, I'm quite sure you all know about the Aufguss. And it's proud from Norway to be talking about Aufguss, which is a German tradition, and also here in Austria too. When we talk about the Aufguss, it's about enjoyment, having fun, and relaxing at the same time. The Aufguss has this unique capability of grasping the source of the sauna. When you say sauna, I have a Finnish friend over here, and they say the löjli, which is the steam. When you talk about the steam in the sauna, it's the soul of the sauna. So when you use the steam and you steam it up, the soul comes, and then your mind goes blank, and you feel the heat. Those of you, you know what I'm talking about when it comes. You feel the heat, and then you know. And that's what we do with the Aufguss. We take the soul, and we use that water and push it in to the sauna, and gives you that emotional feeling of 15 minutes. It's only 15 minutes. I'm not going to be too hard with my panel members here, but most other traditional things take long time. This is 15 minutes where you can just enjoy, relax, and you saw the video here as well. Sometimes it's a show, and sometimes it's just relaxation, slowly enjoying. So what we are combining in the Aufguss, we are combining the elements of earth. We have the stone on the ovens. We're combining the fire. We have the fire from the oven and the fire from the power. We have the water. We put the water on the oven, and up comes the air. So by combining these together, we have this tremendous power of energy inside the sauna, which happens. And when you're there as a guest, and you sit there and enjoy, you just feel the power of the löjli coming, and you get this relaxing nice. What we also blend in is smells. And we have a story, too, that we can tell you. So when you come in there, You listen, you see, and you enjoy, and of course you're naked. That's what we are when we do the Aufguss. Often we are naked. We sit naked like the Germans always. They teach us that how we do it when we come in. And then you relax. And what you do when you sit in a sauna Aufguss, it's so much emotion going on. So you don't know how to behave. And last year I was in Sinsheim in the World Championships. And suddenly it was 9:15 in the morning. And it was the first 9:15 in the morning. It was Thursday. 160 people in the sauna. And you express yourself because the heat and the smell and the power comes. And suddenly people were just shouting in the sauna. You know, Germans, when they come this Oktoberfest thing, everyone sings the same, and whoa, he was chanting around in there. And the emotion that happens in the sauna, it's allowed to have fun, isn't it? It's allowed to have fun. Don't take life too serious. And the Aufguss, the show Aufguss, is that part as well. I'm not going to take too much time.
No, because we have to go on.
Okay.
But there is a... Lasse has brought some serious Aufguss masters with him here, and there is a breakout session later this afternoon that you should not miss. Now, before we end, I just quickly want to touch up on the future. Actually, are we going to have like robot sponge bath, or will we all be able to bathe with the water shortage? Will the complete explosion of technology come into our bathing tradition? How small can a bikini actually get? And what technology will that bikini hold? There's a lot of thought process of the future of bathing and where it will come. And I will have the panel members, because we're a bit out of time, so if you just each one of you, and we'll start with Aldina, take about 15 seconds to summarize what will happen in the future.
Well, as I said, it's all about prevention. And I disagree with you, Franz, because prevention, there is a cost to that. Come to Thalassotherapy, I'll explain. But definitely, yes, it's about the ancient traditions. And to me, coming back to the old traditions, it's the future. This is why.
Back to basic.
Back to basics, yeah.
So, Alla, you have such a back to basic tradition. I mean, it's lovely. I've been whipped pink a couple of times in banyas in Russia and in the Baltics. Do you see any electronics or other things happening that will change the tradition in the future, or is it going to be just the same?
I think the beauty of the banya tradition is that it has been like this for 1,000 years, and I think it will stay like that for 1,000 years.
It's a bit strange because things do change, and I agree with you that there has been that for 1,000 years, but we see the development and all kinds of bathing traditions today. I mean, we have technology and we have all the data, but you don't see any change.
I think if we're talking about the bathing ritual, the ritual itself will not change. I think the components around the ritual will definitely be a big hit in the future, because it is a lifestyle component. It has a community aspect. It's a way to socialize. It's a way to do business in an honest way. It's a place for people to come to connect, have fun, purify, and enjoy wellness.
I agree with you. I do. I just wanted to push you a bit, because I do think that why fix what's not broken? But there will be technology entering. We have lots of technology. Just biological lighting, to say one thing, is something that will come in, and right now is changing the life in our homes, talking about home wellness, and that will also, I believe, change the way we bathe. So, Adrian, what's your take on the future?
I think the future will change dramatically. First, there will be a separation, I think. One will really be, and the topic couldn't have been better, back to the future. It's going to be a lot simpler, and it's going to be a lot more relaxing, and really going into the direction of electronic detoxification, like really no modern things in all this. It's going to be a lot simpler. And I think the other way will be these high-tech solutions where there is everything which is available, data-based, is going to be there. But I do believe that on a long-term base, the success for us is going back to the future and staying focused on our body and mind, and understanding that a healthy mind is really important for a healthy body, and combining this, as well as I'm quite sure that medical and spa or wellness will come together quite soon again, but not in the way of taking pills.
Lasse, anything to add?
This is the new part, the Aufguss, you say, that we do with the show. It's allowed to say that one. No, for the future is, I would challenge that one a little bit, because it's also what we see with the new evolve and around the sauna culture, what we do today, and the new infusions that we have, is that you can also go towards some more, we call it welltainment too, that people also like to be entertained in the sauna too. They like that part. I'm going to challenge that a little bit, because the entertainment industry is really, really big. It's over $2.5 trillion, you know. So it's how maybe we can go in that direction too. It's allowed to think in that way instead of the traditional. I love it personally, but it's allowed to challenge.
I think virtual reality will be a big part of our bathing, maybe without water, so there's no doubt that there's going to be showers and baths like this, but still we have connectivity to nature. We actually have a brand called Live Nordic, where we are now branching into hotels, and we're going to have a bathing ritual in each hotel room with sauna and cold dip. So there are changing the way that we work in the future, and there's no doubt that we will have biological lighting, like Light and Science Group, affect how we bathe, how we live, as well as the air and the bath. And I think entertainment is such a big thing. So you're absolutely right. And virtual reality, here we come with bathing. I don't know how we're going to get the water into the virtuality, but I'm sure we'll figure that one out. So I want to give a warm hand to our panel. Thank you for contributing, and thank you for listening.